Welcome back to the Make Time for Success podcast. I am your host, Dr. Christine Lee, and this is episode number 251. Since I just crossed over that 250th episode milestone and hurdle, I kind of feel like this is episode 1 all over again, and I feel this rush of new energy. So I'm going to run with that, and I'm going to share with you today a behind-the-scenes look into a workshop that I host periodically. It's called Ignite Your Dreams Vision Board Workshop. So you're going to hear some strategies that I teach for how to get your mind prepared to create a big vision. You're going to go through a few of the exercises that I use inside the workshop. And I'm going to have you reflect on what you want for yourself. What are your goals? What do you want your future self to be experiencing? And in the process of reviewing all of these things, I think you're going to learn some really practical tips for getting more done with the same amount of time, with the same amount of energy. We're just going to help you boost your productivity, your mindset, your energy, and of course, your big vision. Let's go listen to this fun episode together now. Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Lee, and I'm a psychologist and a procrastination coach. I've helped thousands of people move past procrastination and overwhelm so they could begin working to their potential. In this podcast, you're going to learn powerful strategies for getting your mind, body, and energy to work together so that you can focus on what's really important and accomplish the goals you want to achieve. When you start living within your full power, you're going to see how being productive can be easy and how you can create success on demand. Welcome to the Make Time for Success podcast. Hi, my friends. Thanks so much for being here. Today, I thought I would talk about the topic of getting more done. We all know about how to get things done, but sometimes we are in the mood for getting a little bit more done. And I just earlier this evening wrapped up my vision board workshop. It is the way that I kick off my signature program, Simply Productive. I like to lead the program with the vision board workshop at the top, because when we start a program by thinking really big, the results of the entire program can only be gigantic. I think it's a great way to get hearts open, to get minds to be expanded, and for me to have a little bit of fun as the teacher and the host, because I get to teach what I now know about really focusing on what you're wishing to see in the world and in your life, and how to put the intermediary steps of day-to-day living in the process of creating your big dreams for your future. And that's all encapsulated inside the Vision Board Workshop. Today, I thought I would just give you a glimpse into what I just taught at the workshop. I'm just going to give you a little taste of what it's like to create a vision board, but mostly how to structure the vision board. And that's part of the theme of today's session, which is getting more done. Just increasing your willingness a little bit, just increasing the breadth of your vision a little bit. All of these little steps and little tweaks really do matter. So what I start the workshop off with is a training in limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are those thoughts that tend to hold us back from even the simplest tasks. Limiting beliefs are things like, I don't have enough energy. I have run out of steam. It's not really worth it to put more effort into this. I was not made for this. I do not have the background for this. All of these kinds of thoughts, you get the flavor of these thoughts, really cause you to think, oh, it's time to shut down. It's time to give up. It's time to wrap up. It's okay not to continue. And that's why they're called limiting beliefs. But the funny thing about limiting beliefs is they are just beliefs. And beliefs are just thoughts that we've gotten so used to thinking that they sound like the truth to us. We repeat the same thoughts over and over again, and you start to really just take it for granted that they are true when they're simply just thoughts that we've thought over and over again. So let's start by having you, dear listener, think to yourself, what am I thinking repeatedly or often or frequently during my regular workday or my average day that tends to keep me feeling like I have to stay small, that I have to be frustrated with the work that I'm doing, that I have to keep doing things the same old way with the same old, maybe lackluster results. Let's just challenge those thoughts today because we're talking about our big vision. And when we're talking about our big vision, we get to think in a new way. We get to think, oh, I'm going to just completely revamp how I've been doing things. I'm going to decide I'm going to approach this new project with a completely new identity, with a completely new perspective and mindset. It is all okay because this is your life to play with. So let's play big, at least every once in a while. It's really fun to do that. So we start the workshop off with just a review of some limiting beliefs, just to make sure we know that they're there and they're not sneaking up on us anymore. They do not get to sabotage our efforts anymore. We get to play big. We get to think about pure possibility. And to do that, to think about possibility, we want to start thinking positively. I think that is the most basic, but most foundational tip that I can give you. If you can just switch your thinking from negative to positive, you've done your future a huge favor. You've already opened up the doors to a bigger and brighter future by thinking that positive things are going to be happening for you. And I say, why not, right? If we are given the choice, we would always choose to do more positive things. So why would we think in our brain of brains that things are going to go negatively? We are in the habit of doing that sometimes. Sometimes we're trained into negative thinking. Our brain has a natural leaning towards the negative so that it can protect us from danger. But when we decide very consciously and very mindfully to say we're going to stay in the positive lane of thinking, then we get to give ourselves the gift of feeling like things are possible, feeling like things are doable, and feeling like we can be a success whenever we decide we're going to go for a goal. And that, I think, is very positive vision setting. So we're going to start with a process of figuring out what our affirmations are. Affirmations are simply, in some ways, the opposite of limiting beliefs. Instead of thinking that we're limited and constrained and lacking in X, Y, and Z, we're going to think exactly the opposite. We're going to put an affirmation in play. An affirmation is a positive statement, a strongly worded positive statement that indicates where your nose is pointed, which means straight for your goal. I'm going to give you some example of affirmations that I shared at the workshop. Affirmations such as, I am worthy, I am confident in myself, I am powerful, I manifest what I desire, I am ready for what I desire or better, I am visionary, I am positive, I am courageous, I am limited, I am filled with creative energy, I am expanding and thriving, I have all the qualities of success I need. As you can tell from that very small sample of affirmation statements, you can create affirmations as you need. If you're a dancer, you can say, I leap without limits. If you're an artist, you can say, my ideas for new paintings go on without end. Whatever you need to do, fill in the blanks for yourself, but use positive and strong language so that your brain and body follow the tone. They follow this idea that you have only places to explore and conquer rather than thinking that your life is going to conquer you. We want to get out of that negative mindset. The next exercise that we can do in this vision boarding type of process is visualization. Now, visualization is kind of the cousin of affirmations. Instead of using words to express our positive view of the future, we're going to use images, sometimes just images in our mind. But of course, we could put images on paper, like on a vision board, or we could use canva.com. Canva is an app that you can use for free online to create posters and your own vision using pictures, photos, graphic images, text. So we're really creating the physical picture or the imaginary picture, but a vision nonetheless of your future. So what are you going to visualize? Some ideas that I can give you are you can visualize the dream that has always been part of your big vision, the thing that you've always dreamed of being or doing. For me, it always has something to do with dancing. I go to Broadway shows every once in a while and I come back so inspired. I doubt I will ever be on Broadway, but that has always been part of an exciting dream of mine. So why not put that on the board? Maybe I get to see a lot of Broadway shows in the next year. I could put that on my vision for the future. Another thing that you could do to up your visualization is to decide that you're going to side with what really makes you jump with excitement just by thinking about the topic. Is it cooking? Is it skydiving? Is it reading? Is it helping other people? Visualize how you want to use your time. Here's the third question. What would make you feel more excited to be alive? The answer to that question likely belongs on your vision board or in your vision for the future. Things that excite you, that stimulate you, that get you to forget your worries and to think about the expansiveness of your life and living. It's just so exciting to be alive. Another question that can prompt a wonderful visualization is, if you had everything you want, what would you do? This, again, gives your brain the space to really think, if all the emotional and mental clutter that's in my brain went away, what would really be my vision? What would I really want to do with my time and my precious life? And finally, another question I can offer is, what does success look like for you? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What will you be doing when you reach your success goals? Where will you be? These are all questions to consider when you're thinking about creating a vision and getting more things done towards your vision. The next exercise that I would have you do is to think for yourself, what do I need courage for? What does courage mean for you? If you had more courage, what would you be able to do? When you think about questions like these, you start to think about what you're afraid of doing. You might be afraid of taking the next step. You might be afraid of leaving a situation that doesn't currently sit well with you. You might be afraid of making a phone call. You might be afraid of breaking out of a habit that is just worn and not doing you any good. You might be afraid of building your next dream. You might be afraid of facing what actually needs to happen. You might be afraid of stepping up into a new role. Of course, this list of your potential fears goes on and on. But what we're going to do with this list, instead of getting afraid, we're going to get courageous. We're going to flip those fears around and say to ourselves, what next step do I need to take? What situation do I need to leave because it's not right for me? What phone call can I make in the next hour? What habit do I need to say goodbye to? And so on and so on. It does not have to be difficult. Things become difficult when we erect resistance to the change. When we make change, when we take those courageous steps, all of a sudden things feel wide open, super easy. We start to think to ourselves, why didn't I do that earlier? And we've all been there, so there's no judgment. But I encourage you to think, what do I need to be courageous for? What areas in my life do I need to be courageous about? And you'll get really juicy answers, I am sure. And just make sure to take notes as you're thinking and reflecting, and then maybe create a new story for yourself on a vision board or in text. You can write out in your journal what you want for the next month or two. You can start small like that, or of course you can go big and say, in the next year, I will accomplish this, that, and the other thing. And then you're just going to work consistently to see that vision come to life. The final exercise that I have for you is for you to think, what kind of energy are you looking for? Sometimes when we're thinking negatively, our energy tends to sag, it tends to flag, it tends to wane because we're sunk thinking about the bad things that we really don't want to happen. We're obsessed with reflecting and fearing and visualizing the negative. So, we're all done with that because we've heard this podcast episode. And now we're going to open our mind to what kinds of energy we want to reflect, what kind of energy we want to emit, what kind of energy we want to nurture and develop within ourselves. I'm going to give you a short list of types of energy that you might never have thought of in the past as types of energy. We'll start here. We're going to start with positive energy. We're going to start with light and buoyant energy. We're going to start with fluid, flowing, active, fiery energy, dynamic energy, constant energy, reflective energy, happy energy, confident energy, optimistic, bouncy, easygoing, relaxed, gentle, intense, assertive energy. And again, I could go on and on and on, because any mood that we have, really, we could say is a type of energy. Are you practical? Are you flexible? Are you intense? Are you powerful and clear? All of these are different types of energy. So decide for yourself, what do you need? What do you want to be? How do you want others to see you energetically? And then start to step into that role, step into that newly energized identity of yours. You can create as you go. There are no rules here. The rules are you get to think really big and pretend for a while until it feels like second nature. You get to reconnect what is your first nature also. You get to be your authentic self when you start living to your potential and with positive mind and intentions. You get to play with your life instead of being afraid of your life. So to review, you can set your big vision. And by doing that, I think you will get more done. You will feel more empowered. You will feel more positive. You will know some affirmation statements. You will visualize the future that you want to see. You'll have everything mapped out either on a vision board or in a journal entry or a journal text or something that's much longer than an entry. You will know what you want to be more courageous for. You will no longer entertain your fears all day long. Maybe you'll think about them for 5 minutes, but then you'll spend the rest of the day doing really exciting, bold moves in your life. You will also decide what kind of energy you're going to keep in your mind, your body, and your entire spirit. Because again, you get to decide how all of this looks, how all of this fits together, and how you show up every day in the world. This is all a big plan towards your forward movement. We're going to move forward anyway, so we might as well move forward with big steps, with confidence, with desire, and with success. It really is going to happen. And my final tip for you is just a reminder that action is really the best solution to most problems, challenges, stresses, and fears. You're feeling tired, take some action. You're feeling afraid, take some action. If you're feeling indecisive, make a choice, take some action. Feeling behind, take some action. It's the best way to stop from feeling like you're behind. Feeling stuck, take some action. You will immediately not be stuck. Feeling overwhelmed, take some action, but focused action so that you don't stay overwhelmed. Because after all, being overwhelmed means you're just focusing on too many things. Life can be simple when you allow it to be. Allow the universe to help you make things easier. Allow your brain and body to really hone in on your targeted goal. Have a specified, specific, real and meaningful goal. It can be really big and can feel like fantasy initially, but the more you work at it, the more you put step after step after step, goal in front of goal in front of other goal, the more you're going to feel like this wild goal of mine is really just achievable. This goal is achievable. I will leave you with that statement because I think that's the best thing to think about any goal that you have in your heart and your mind. I wish you every good turn of luck in your journey forward. And if you need to review the steps, replay this episode. It's yours to keep. Thank you so much for listening to the ideas I shared with you today. If you'd like a summary of these ideas, I encourage you to get the free download that accompanies this episode on taking more action. All you need to do to get that free download is to go to maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com/action. Again, it's maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com/action. I will see you next week when I share another tool that I've recently honed in on and developed for getting more done. I'll see you there. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make Time for Success podcast. If you enjoyed what you've heard, you can subscribe to make sure you get notified of upcoming episodes. You can also visit our website, maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com, for past episodes, show notes, and all the resources we mentioned on the show. Feel free to connect with me over on Instagram too. You can find me there under the name Procrastination Coach. Send me a DM and let me know what your thoughts are about the episodes you've been listening to. And let me know any topics that you might like me to talk about on the show. I'd love to hear all about how you're making time for success. Talk to you soon.